Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend's box office and the new openings this week. I'm Binh, and joining me is Senh Duong. So, Senh, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Wow, looks like we're both really off this week.
We were surprised by the weekend's performance of the new releases. We were both quite off, not just off, but quite off.
For The Perfect Guy, wasn't it? I think I have it around like 10 million, or was it less?
No, you had it at 6. I had it at 10.
Okay. So you were actually closer on that one. What about The Visit?
The Visit, you 10. I was saying 15 to 20.
Oh, you were 15 to 20?
Uh-huh.
And I was just 10?
You were just 10.
Oh, man. I was completely off.
Well, we were both off.
But at least you were closer. At least you were closer with The Visit. 15 to 20?
Yeah, but not by much. But hey, let's talk about the new releases. The Perfect Guy, which is really surprising, came in number 1 with a take of 26.7 million. We thought The Visit would come in number 1, right?
Yeah.
But not by much. It's only like less than, about 1 million separating the two. The surprising thing is really that the box office take, not a lot of expectations here for either movie, but they both kind of overperformed.
They both way exceeded anyone's expectations. I think most people in the industry were thinking had numbers like ours. I don't think anyone was expecting both movies to be 25 million plus.
Right. I mean, especially during this season, right? I mean, the quiet season, and then they both have over 20 million. The Perfect Guy opened in less theaters than The Visit, but it has a higher per theater average. Well, like we said in a previous podcast, right? Perfect Guy has African American leads, and as we expounded repeatedly that these movies that feature African Americans tend to be front loaded, and this one has a huge opening as we expected, but we didn't expect really this huge.
Another film at the top of the box office starring mostly African American cast. This is the third weekend in a row, and if you count the weeks that Straight Outta Compton were at the top of the box office, this is like the 5th weekend in a row, whereas the top films at the box office stars African Americans. There's a huge audience there, obviously, right?
Right.
if they make the right films.
And I would also say, venture to guess that some of these movies have crossover appeal too.
Yeah.
It's not just even though they're predominantly African American, the audience. I think there's some crossover appeal to other ethnic groups.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think when you have a movie like Straight Outta Compton making 156 million, it definitely crossover appeal.
Right.
And when a movie opens as huge as The Perfect Guy, there's definitely some crossover appeal. This is not like 10 to 15 million. This is like nearly 27 million.
Right. And hey, they did that with a budget of 12 million. Almost.
Yeah, so a very profitable film.
It looks like I said before, the cast looks good. They're good-looking people, and
doing things that you like to see good-looking people do.
Well, not stalking. Well, maybe, I don't know. Would you
not the stalking part.
Who knows? Maybe that if some good-looking people stalking me, I don't know. I'm not sure if I mind. I don't know. But the market is there. Maybe it's the halo effect from the other two movies. Who knows?
Yeah. Like you said many times that doesn't matter what season you're in. I guess the audience is there if you open the right movies. So I'll give you credit for that. Despite the reviews for The Perfect Guy on Grey is 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. Despite that, it opened really well. It's one of those movies where it might not be a good movie, but hey, it's gonna entertain people.
Yeah, I would say that people know exactly what they're getting, and judging by the box office performance it delivers, we'll see the second weekend. But people kind of like what they're seeing. You want a stalker movie, you want to have these thrillerish elements to it.
Yeah, in a way it's kind of like The Gift except a more generic version of it, a more sexier, this is more of an erotic thriller, kind of a more mainstream version of The Gift, kind of. Even though The Gift has already made 42 million at the box office.
Right. Well, Sena, is that how you pronounce her name? Sena Lathan? Well, still got it.
I'm not sure. Maybe Sanai?
Sanai? S-A-N-N-A? I don't know.
Sanai. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Sena.
Right, she was in all these previous movies like Blade, The Best Man, Love and Basketball, and a couple other more mainstream like Alien versus Predator, Contagion.
Okay, let's look at the pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's see. Oh, Sanaa Lathan.
Oh, Sanaa.
Sanaa. Yeah, Sanaa.
Okay, Sanaa. That's the thing. When we're doing audio, is that we actually have to pronounce words.
Yeah, I know.
We have an educational podcast here too.
I know. Maybe we're the only two who don't know how to pronounce it.
Well, maybe.
Maybe plus a couple more.
Right.
Michael Ealy and Morris Chestnut. It seems like, especially Morris Chestnut, he's in many of these, mostly African American cast, ensemble films, and they've all been decent-sized hits.
Yeah, I mean, these are pretty much the go-to people for mainstream African American fare. They're in a lot of films together, like Think Like a Man 2, right? Think Like a Man.
Yeah, and they're all box office hits. They're not just like, back in the day when you have, like a 30 or 35 million grossing movie featuring African Americans, you call that a decent-sized hit. But these, they're like, 80 million, 100 million. So they're way more mainstream.
Right. Yeah, okay, that's all we have to say about The Perfect Guy. It overperformed everyone's expectations, and we will see if it can hold up. Opening huge to the number one is tough enough, but really, it's staying there. Is the next thing. It's the next goal. It's just staying at the top. And see how much it drops.
Yeah, although at a budget of only 12 million, it's already a profitable film.
Yeah, sure, but we want to see once it got there, right? Let's see how far it can go.
Right.
All right, let's move on to the second surprise hit, The Visit. It's M. Night Shyamalan's return film. It grossed the 25.6 million over the weekend, and the budget is only 5 million. Hey, can't complain, really.
Yeah, finally a legitimate hit from M. Night Shyamalan again. And even on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a decent tomato meter. I think it's 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. Kind of a solid return to form for M. Night Shyamalan.
Well, to be fair, right? The movie only cost 5 million. If it costs like 20 to 30 million, then hey.
Yeah, then it's a different story. But still, the reviews are actually a lot better than his previous 3 to 4 films.
Right, and it perform way better than your 10 million and mine 15 to 20. And as I said in the previous podcast, I think enough time has separated from his previous movies that people are willing to welcome him back.
Yeah, or maybe Jason Blum's involvement.
Could be.
I think getting the budget to 5 million is a big plus, and they're not pushing his name on this one. Maybe that's what he needs to do instead of making these extravagant, big Hollywood releases. Now he can just return to, his, I'm not sure if it's even his indie roots. Just return to making his films without the Hollywood glitter. I
guess so. I mean, because his movies really doesn't need to be expensive, besides the Avatar. It's pretty much horror movies. Like he tells horror movies. And horror movies, as we know, aren't expensive to make unless you put in Bruce Willis, for example, right? And others. The Visit pretty much returns him, you could say, to his indie roots or low budget roots. And it doesn't star anyone really. It's just a situation, that scary situation. The grandparents might be monsters. Who knows?
Yeah, a great premise,
And it's kind of scary, You drop your kids off, and you don't. Hey, the people that you knew might not be, who you
think they are. Yeah, exactly. Grandma might be a monster at night.
Right. Since you are related, how does that work, right?
Yeah, right.
It might be something in you too, So that's the things to be played out. Good premise, hey, and can't complain with the 25.6 million take.
Yeah, and man, Jason Blum's been on a roll. He's been making these budget horror films, and they're all making a lot of money.
Yeah,
They're
it's
all
always
very profitable.
The thing is that it's always about the budget, the low budget, right? And his movies, kind of like Roger Corman, right? His movies always make money because how much it costs.
Except he's more mainstream than Roger Corman. Roger Corman, the only people who will watch his films, or people won't go to the theater to watch his films because they know it's low. It looks low budget. With Jason Blum, people watch him and don't think they're low budget films. They would want to go to the theaters to watch these movies.
Right, but I think Jason Blum's movies take more than 1 day to shoot, so I guess that's why the quality is there.
Yeah, it seems like with him, he made the Gallows for just 100K. It seems like with him, he's trying to get as low as he can get. It's not like, hey, we have these successful movies. Let's throw more money and make them bigger. He doesn't have that. With him, it just seems like, hey, what's the minimum budget we need to tell these stories?
Right, and I think
it's a good approach.
Right, and the low budget look fit these horror movies.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. You get Jason Blum to go in there and rein in M. Night Shyamalan from his his accesses, just to wing him in a little, just to tell him, hey, look.
Right. I think I always thought that the problem with M. Night Shyamalan was that he couldn't get out of his story technique, I think.
Yeah, part of it might be also that these studios corner him into that premise, like, hey, there's always a twist ending, and unless your story has a twist ending, we won't make it, type of thing.
Right. Could be that, but I thought that like after a couple movies, like, oh, okay, I might want to not want to watch it. Sometimes the premise might be too silly.
Yeah, it seems like his movies, the premise always draws people in, but the problem with them is the follow through isn't as good. So they've always opened really well, and then they drop like a tank the next week. That's the problem with his films after The Sixth Sense and after Unbreakable and after The Sign. Even The Happening and the films before that, they open really well, but then they drop like by 65 or 70% the next week because these story ideas aren't carried out that well.
Well, I think he quote unquote jumped the shark after The Village.
yeah, exactly.
So I feel, oh my god, that's too bad. And I think his movie dropped from there. So
yeah, maybe the studio and him, he just kind of cornered himself in, like, what kind of twist ending movie can I put together? It seems like the ideas are always good, but the follow through and carrying it out is not very good. They're good enough to get people to be intrigued and fire up people's imagination, and they're good enough to draw people in during opening weekend, but not good enough to keep more people coming in.
All right, and The Visit is sort of a return to form. I mean, before M. Night Shyamalan's movie opened, I don't know, maybe like even with The Sixth Sense, that was his first breakout hit. It opened to like 26.7 million, right?
Yeah,
this is kind of The Visit is kind of close to there, right?
Yeah, and at a much lower budget.
Right, and at his peak, which is Signs. That one was with Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix. All things considered, it's not bad. I mean, most important to him, I guess, is that he continues to work with this.
Yeah. Now he's, Hollywood studios are probably, moving him back to the A-list or maybe the A- list.
Oh, probably not a good idea. But it's kind of the same thing with the Wachowski siblings, right?
Yeah. I think they, kind of like they maybe they need another superpower, producer to go in there and kind of rein them in a little bit, not let them get too carry out with their. I guess the term that critics like to use is masturbatory. Like they like certain things that they just get so addicted to these eccentricities that kind of makes these films a little bit weird.
Right, they put them in because they can.
Not because they actually help the story.
Right. And I think that's what this need is someone to keep them on track. Kind of like M. Night. I'm sure he has good ideas, but I don't think his ideas can support that huge of a budget. I mean, his movie did decent, right? But it's just that the budget got away from him.
Yeah, the budget and the second weekend has been killing him.
It's not that his movies perform bad. It's just that, hey, sometimes it's just not there, right? I mean, some of his movies.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if someone went into, there's a high-powered producer who went in, and heard George Lucas' idea about Jar Jar Binks, he might be like, hey, that Jar Jar Binks character, cut it out.
Right.
None of that bullshit, okay? Little things like that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I just give someone a second pass at the script, and they have executive power to override.
To talk some sense into them.
I always thought that Star Wars broke George Lucas. He was a promising director before Star Wars. And, and then after that, I think it was always about the commercial appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
the toys and Hey, I mean, he did make a lot. He did become a billionaire because of the toys.
No. He made money and he got rich, but the director in him died.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like his earlier movies was good.
Yeah.
He could be another Spielberg, but he took the executive approach, right? He became the CEO of a company instead of who has to worry about dollar and cents.
Yeah.
Instead of the artistic merit of movies. So that's what happened.
Right. It always makes you wonder how some people, become super famous like Steven Spielberg, and they can continue to produce quality work. And then you have someone like George Lucas that he was producing quality, low-budget indie movies, and then Star Wars hits, and then boom, like you said, the director in him just kind of died. They lose that edginess. They lose.
Yeah, I think he was concerned with making money back then. So I think that's the route he took. And it affected all his other decisions. I mean, he didn't make a movie after Star Wars. Until prequel.
Yeah.
He didn't need to make a movie because he was rolling dough, making so much money. So he started the effects house. I think he was more interested in afterward. He was more interested in the technical aspects. That's why he started ILM.
Right, which is great because of ILM, his influence, George Lucas's influence. We were seeing all these superhero character movies. We now finally have the technology to make these films.
No,
it's not a completely bad thing, but like you said, the director in him kind of died off. But he did say that he eventually wants to make indie movies instead of these.
Like I say, it's not going to happen with him. I think he passed the age where he just doesn't have the stamina anymore. It's always about the long haul, the grind. He lived too comfortable a life to be able to get back into the grind. He needs his air-conditioned trailer, right? He can't go to the desert anymore to shoot another Star Wars.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so somehow we've veered into George Lucas. So
I know.
But hey, it's coming out in December, the new Star Wars movie. So hey, his name will be will come up again.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to number 3. War Room. It dropped from its first place finish from the previous week. Came in number 3, made 7.4 million, experienced only a 22% drop off.
Yeah, really, really good haul. Wow, impressive.
Made for 3 million, and so far it's nearing or probably crossed 40 already.
There's something in it that's appealing to a specific group of audience. We'll get to 90 Minutes in Heaven, which kind of proves that, hey, you can't just throw any of these Christian films out there and expect it to be a hit.
Yeah, and like I said, War Room seems less preachy to me, less Bible thumping. It does have some elements, but it's like, hey, if you have a problem with your relationship, you got to remain strong, work it out, write your problems on a piece of paper and post it in a room. And I believe the other guy saw it. I don't think God has anything to do with it, but the other guy saw it and read the woman's issues, problems that have with them, and they work it out. And I think the message is working things out, staying strong and working things out. And I think that has more appeal than really, this is God's hand is in this. Kind of, at least that's my take.
I'm not sure if it's right.
Okay. All right.
I read a review that's kind of that's just blasted, thinking that, hey, this is dangerous. This is a dangerous movie because his point of view is the other one, which is basically, hey, if you have issues, all you need to do is go lock yourself in a room and pray to God, and then your issues will be solved. And that critic blasted it, completely nuked the movie.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is that if that were to happen, then I agree with that critic. But the point is that the guy went into the room as well, and that it's kind of like a meeting of the minds at that point. After that point, it's like the people working things out themselves.
Yeah,
sure, there's like praying involved, but you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. From the review I read, well, his view is on the opposite end, and I haven't seen it, so I can't say.
Yeah, I haven't seen it as well, but you know, like from the trailer, that's believe what happened is like they have, you know, their relationship is breaking down. That woman met an older woman who said, "Hey, you know, let's just write your things down and put it in a room and pray." and if their relationship suddenly works out, then yeah, I agree. You know, then hey, you know, it didn't work that way. But you know, it's that the guy found himself in a room and get to read about the problems, and I think that's the turning point.
I don't know.
all right. It's just me.
I haven't seen it.
We're just pulling things out thin air, and I'm just saying it's not as preachy as to the movie that we'll get to.
Yeah, I'm not sure because the review I read did say that he mentioned that hey, there's no way to make these scenes exciting when it's just a woman praying in a womb. So, so I don't know. You could be right, but one of the reviews that I think it's kind of dangerous to think that you can preach these problems away. I mean, pray these problems away.
Right, but in any case, right? Yeah, War Room became the number one movie, holding up really well. Number one movie, dropped to third. It's not a bad position to be in, especially when it's made for $3 million, and no one expected a lot of things from this one. I thought it would make probably 10 million tops, right?
Yeah, same here.
Hey, it's nearing 40, and it's probably going to what, 40 to 45.
Well, I mean, we both of us thought it would be 90 minutes in heaven,
right?
Which we'll get to pretty soon.
All right. Speaking of soon, let's move along. To number 4, A Walk in the Woods. It made 4.6 million. It added a couple more theaters, experienced a 44% drop off, and in the second weekend, it made about nearly 20 million. And the movie starred Robert Redford and Nick Nolte and Emma Thompson.
Reviews on that great, but hey, I think for a movie of this type, it's doing well. I don't think it has a huge budget.
It doesn't look like it has a huge budget. It's pretty much they went to a national park and start filming Robert Redford and Nick Nolte talking to each other or having what men talk about.
Right. Okay, let's move on to number 5, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, with 4.2 million this weekend. Most films in the top 10, with the exception of War Room, are experiencing a drop off in the 40% range. So 43% drop off, which is actually one of the lowest ones for the movies in the top 10. And after 7 weeks, it's made 188 million. Still has a chance to get to 200 million, which is pretty impressive.
Well, like we say in the last podcast, the weeks previous was Labor Day weekend, like long extended weekend, and the drop off was low. And that last weekend it got back to its normal drop off, the movies. So that's why we're seeing the 40s, 50s, even 60s.
right.
But Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, it held on and
it did spot. Yeah, it did open in China last week and made 86 million in 6 days, which bumped its worldwide figure to 613 million. So it's closing in on Ghost Protocol's worldwide figure too. I think Ghost Protocol was 714 million, somewhere around there.
Ghost Protocol is, I think, it's 694, 95.
694. Oh, so okay, yeah. So hey, it might get there.
80 more million.
It might be able to make another 80 million in China. Who knows?
We'll keep an eye out for it.
Well, it made 86 in 6 days, so there's a possibility.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to
number 6.
The next movie. Okay, number 6. Go for it.
Straight Outta Compton. It dropped from the 2nd spot to the 6th spot. Made for about 4 million, and it crossed 155 million over 5 weeks. Huge drop off.
Yeah, it's kind of
losing steam, but it's already past its 5th week.
And it's already made 156 million. It's already a huge hit, even though it's dropping off faster than some of the movies on it above it.
Right. Even though it opened huge, I mean, its appeal is not as lasting as some of the other movies like Mission Impossible. nation, right? This is pretty much a biopic about the 80s or 90s rap group, probably 80s. NWA has Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, and a couple others that I can't name. I mean, no one was expecting it to be a 156 million movie, right? Maybe people, I think most optimistic, I think for me was probably, I don't know,
50 million.
50, 60 million tops, right? Because it is a biopic, right?
Let's put it this way, with the exception of Mission Impossible, every other movie in the top 10 with Wish is doing the kind of business that Straight Outta Compton is doing.
Oh, right.
So let's move on to number 7, the Owen Wilson, Pierce Brosnan action thriller No Escape. Made about 2.9 million this weekend, 47% drop off, 24 million after 3 weeks, losing a lot of theaters. You know, it's not too bad. It looks like you'll probably eventually top out at 30 million. And the Weinstein Company bought the rights for just 5 million. So it's already, like they said, it's making money.
It did its job, right? Weinstein has saw an opening at this release date. They put No Escape in. It came in, made money, and that's what it did.
Yep. So like you said, did its job. A movie that didn't do its job is the one at number 8, the Transporter Refueled. It made 2.7 million over the weekend. Steep drop off from its first weekend, 63% drop off, the highest for every movie on the top 10. And after 2 weeks, it's only made 13 million. And at a budget of 22 million, it's going to lose money. The worldwide figure is only at 23 million.
I couldn't explain this movie to you, really. I mean, even though you said you like it, except the ending. I don't know why it was done.
I looked into that. The reason why it was made was they wanted Jason Statham to do 3 more, but they were only willing to pay him for 1 movie. So Jason Statham said, "You're only going to pay me for 1 movie, but I have to make 3 for the price of 1. Forget you." So that's why. So then that's why they went ahead and cast another guy.
Right. So you could say they both lost out on this one because it did damage to the brand, because I don't think Statham is coming back.
Well, who knows after this one? I mean, because the Transporter films did do increasingly well worldwide, with the last film actually cracking 100 million worldwide. And these are modestly budget films, like 20, 30 million budget. So they're profitable.
I mean, they could spin it as like, hey, there's a lot of transporters in the world, and this guy is just one.
Right. Yeah. This one's the prequel, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the thing is, who knows? Maybe after this one, they're like, "All right, Jason, we're gonna pay you more money to come back."
Okay.
Maybe after this, they'll be like, "All right, Jason, we'll pay. We'll pony up the money."
I doubt it. I think Jason Statham moved on, and like you say, Jason Statham hasn't really been a draw lately. In his movies. Yeah. So right. Even if he did come back, right, it might not work out as you expect it to. He couldn't add more fuel to the franchise. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I thought Esquire did a pretty good job with the action sequences. Not just with the action sequences, but he does have a screen presence and he does have charisma. So which bodes well for Deadpool, because he's playing the bad guy, one of the main adversaries.
Oh no.
He was good in the movie. I thought, like I said in the previous podcast, what failed the movie was the third act, where the stunt coordinators, the director, the screenwriters, it just got so silly at the end. But Esquire did his job. Whatever his job was, he did it pretty well.
Okay. Here's the thing. Here's what I have to say about like Deadpool. I don't think it bodes well at all.
Yeah, I don't have high prospects for the film, but I thought him as a villain could, especially since with the trailer is supposed to be like a fighting type, not someone with these superpowers destroying buildings and whatnot. It's more like a hand-to-hand combat type of movie. If it's that, then I think it bodes well with Ed Skrein as a villain.
Right. Anyway,
the movie as a whole, I don't have high prospects actually.
Right. But I'm just saying I disagree with you that Ed Skrein is a good action star. He just doesn't have the screen presence to me.
Well, you haven't seen the movie.
I've seen enough.
That's the thing. that's the thing. When I saw the trailer, I wasn't that impressed. But when I saw the movie, I was impressed by him. He did handle, and there, a number of reviews that I read were also impressed by him. So he does have the action credentials and the charisma and whatever you need in an action movie. But for the Transporter Refueled, I thought the film failed him rather than he failed the film. He did his duties.
Look. The movie only made 13 million over 2 weeks. Okay, so that means he couldn't bring people in. The teen girls, right? Oh, he's hot. He's not. Look, 13 million over 2 weeks. All right, the action people. I think they would bring in, but 13 million over 2 weeks.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. He just doesn't have that draw.
Yeah, I guess you can look at the performance and say that. But what I'm saying is, people who've seen it and the reviews, if you read it, I mean, everyone. I think most of the reviewers commented that he did a decent job. So it's one of those movies that it might be like the right actor in the wrong, not in the wrong movie, but he did his job, but other people didn't. Kind of like Meryl Streep in a bad movie, but he's like Meryl Streep, but in action terms. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think. I
disagree with you. I guess you disagree with me there.
I disagree because I think people are just looking for a bright point in a bad film overall. They say, "Oh yeah, he's not too bad." I mean, that's a good thing you could say about that movie. But
Yeah. Well, that's my opinion. I thought he did a great job.
All right. And
I just thought the movie failed him in the end. Right.
What I'm saying is that, hey, he can bring people in. That's all I'm saying. It's part of the responsibility of being a star, is that you can bring people in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has star status. Well, actually, I did say he does have a star status in action movies. I feel like he has potential in action movies.
All right.
Star potential in action movies.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty much we won't see another Transporter movie with its grind.
Yeah.
So I don't think he'll get to show his potential in another one.
Unless the Deadpool movie does well.
Which we agree that probably won't. Even though, who knows? Because they're keeping the budget modest on that one.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. With a modest budget, who knows? I'm not as excited by it as other comic book fans.
Yeah, I think the Deadpool character is pretty much a niche character. It's a mental case. He talks to the readers. I think the movies will be that too, So I think people who are not used to the character doing that will find it weird.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Right.
Well, who knows? People might find it refreshing. Like, hey, this is kind of a different take on the comic book.
Yeah, I doubt again. That's part of the difficulty of bringing that character to the screen.
Yeah. Because you can easily go wrong with that kind of character.
Right.
All right, so let's move on to number 9, 90 Minutes in Heaven, another faith-based movie based on a best-selling novel. Opened in slightly less than 1,000 theaters, but it was only able to take in 2 million, which is not a very good figure. So it just goes to show that, hey, you can't just throw out any old Christian faith-based film and it's gonna do well. There's got to be something in there.
And this movie star a recognizable name, Kate Bosworth and Hayden Christensen.
You would expect that, hey, with at least 2 recognizable names that it would do better, but nope.
Right. Hey, and I was pretty close. I said it would do 3.
What did I say?
You said 5.
Okay, so I was way off last week.
It won't get any better from here for 90 Minutes in Heaven. Like I said, it's one of those that's probably a bit too preachy for me. I feel, other people might see it different, but I thought that him getting into an accident and then later on being able to move because of his faith, a bit too much, I think, for the general audience. You have to take my word for it.
Yeah. Let's move on to number 10. Gallo con muchos huevos.
Isn't the H pronounced a J?
No, the J is pronounced a H. It's the opposite.
Oh, all right. I got my Spanish mixed up, I think. Gallos con muchos huevos.
Okay, all right. 1.9 million this weekend, 44% drop off, 6.7 million so far. Look, it's a Mexican animated film that popped up in the top 10. So just by that alone, it's already a hit.
Do we know if it's in English or if it's in Spanish?
I think it's in Spanish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's in Spanish because I think, or else they would have translated the title.
Yeah,
to English. Yeah. So that's a surprising thing, right? A Spanish language film breaking into the top 10. It was number 9 the last week. How much?
Like 4 million or something,
which is pretty good.
Which means, hey, there's that underserved market. If you produce a film for them, they're gonna come out and watch it.
Right, and this is an animation by I think a Mexican outfit.
Yeah, so pretty impressive.
And this is not one of these foreign adult movies like from France or Spain, right? This is a children's movie.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Anything else?
I think Inside Out made 351 million total, which puts it past Furious 7 as the 3rd highest grossing film of the year, behind Jurassic World and The Avengers. And let me see, worldwide is at 747 million. And I don't think it opened in China yet. Or Japan, 2 huge markets, really huge markets. Still has a lot of potential worldwide. I mean, at 750 million, depending on how it does in China and Japan, it could break 1 billion.
Yeah. And this is more like a return to their more family-friendly outings. That's not about racing or with Monsters Inc. or Monster University. It's more inclusive, like not a guy's film.
Well, it's a return to them doing a movie that's very challenging, but is able. I feel like this might be their most challenging film, with the exception of, I don't know, maybe Wall-E and Up. Well, those are 2 big, huge exceptions. But to me, I do feel like this is their most challenging film. And they were able to make it such a huge success.
Okay. All right.
Ant-Man at 176 million. That's already Captain America or Thor. I think Thor made 180. The first one. So it's already closing in on those films and might eventually outgrow those films.
It still has staying power.
Yeah, it might eventually outgrow those films, and it's one of those 3rd-tier characters, beating a 1st-tier character in the Marvel universe.
Like I say, as Ant-Man proves, I don't think the general audience know what tier these characters occupy. As long as it's a good movie, they'll come out to watch it.
Right.
Okay, yeah, let's go to the opening movies because there are a couple this week. We have Black Mass, starring Johnny Depp as the I don't know, you could say FBI informant, gangster or mobster. And then we have Captive, which is kind of whitish. It stars Kate Mara and David Oyelowo. Oyelowo plays an escaped convict who kind of held Kate Mara's character captive, hence the title. And then we have, the sequel to the Maze Runner, the Scorched Trials, which will be the biggest opening this weekend. Yeah. And then I think also kind of whitish is the movie Everest. It has a lot of big names like Josh Brolin, Jason Clarke, Jake Gyllenhaal, John Hawkes.
Hey, most of the films so far on Rotten Tomatoes are pretty well reviewed.
If you look at the list right now, it's the award season time,
Yeah, right.
Even the limited movies, you have Pawn Sacrifice, a movie we probably won't touch upon, but we'll talk about him right now. It's in limited release that stars Tobey Maguire as the chess player Bobby Fischer, right? These are the movies that will try to win awards. Even Black Mass is the big Oscar contender.
Right, and decently well reviewed. Yeah, 86%.
Right, so we're getting into those movies.
Let's start with the biggest, The Maze Runner.
Scorched Trials.
Reviews-wise, it's about the same as the previous film. The first Maze Runner scored 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, so decent reviews for action thriller. How well did the first one open?
The first one opened to 32.
32? Right.
It made 340 worldwide. The Maze Runner is one of those YA novels, right? It has, I think it's a trilogy. Studios like that because you can make a lot of movies from that if it's successful.
Yeah. The awesome thing about the first film is it only cost 34 million, and it made, like you said, 341 million worldwide. That's 10 times its budget.
And the reason why they were able to make it for 34 is because they didn't hire anybody to star in. It's pretty much like grab people off the street.
Right.
guys are in it.
Yeah, it was a decently well-reviewed film that did better than what anyone expected. And since it opened to 32 million, I think this one will probably do better. I'll say 35 million. What are you thinking?
The first movie, I really didn't expect it to do that well, but it did. Hey, you know, it doesn't look that great. It kind of looked low budgetish to me.
Right.
And again, no stars. Even the director is kind of like a first timer.
Right.
But then it blew up. I couldn't explain it, but I guess it has an appeal, right? The second one looks way better than the first one. It looks like they really put money behind it. Like there are explosions, there's like the special effects. You know, you can see it. You can feel the money. You can feel the production value. So I think your 35-ish
might be
a bit low. Yes.
So I have a feeling too.
I think it would probably do maybe 40 and above.
Yeah, you're probably right. But since I started with 35 million, I'll stick with it. But I think you're probably right. But I think, you know, there's some goodwill going for it. You know, it was a surprise hit, decently well reviewed. Again, did way better than what anyone expected. The second one, I think, would do better, but, you know, I think slightly better, 35 million. You're thinking 40 million. I wouldn't be surprised if it did 40 to 45 million.
Right. It could go higher. The thing is, like, I wasn't that interested in the first movie, but I'm interested in the second movie. Yeah, and it looks like one of those movies where you don't have to watch the first movie to know what's going on. I think you can jump right in and get to the action-packed part, the second movie.
And like you said, the trailer does look like it costs a lot more than the first film. It looks like a blockbuster.
And it will be a blockbuster.
The studio hopes so.
Yeah. All right, Black Mass.
Black Mass, which is getting pretty good reviews, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of people have mentioned that, hey, this is Johnny Depp's first good movie in a long while. It's him finally doing a decent film outside of the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Black Mass is a movie where they're going to try to win awards. They're bringing out the big guns for this one. Johnny Depp, Benedict Cumberbatch, Dakota Johnson, who else? Joe Egerton, you know, the guy who wrote and directed recently The Gift. All right, there's Kevin Bacon, Peter Sarsgaard.
Yeah, like you said, they're bringing out the big Oscar guns.
Right. So they're gonna make a big push for this one. Johnny Depp plays the guy who a notorious criminal who is an informant, and while doing that, he solidified his position as one of the bigger mobster out there. You know, he used the FBI to shut down his rivals.
What kind of appeal do you think this will have?
It won't be as big as,
you know, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Or Pirates of the Caribbean. I think this is more like
20 to 25 million.
Let me see what does The Departed make.
Oh, that's like 35 million.
That's kind of similar to that movie.
Okay.
So Departed opened to around 26, 27.
Oh, 26. I thought it was 30. Okay, 26.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna do around there, maybe 30.
Oh, you're thinking 30? Okay, I'm thinking 20 to 25.
I'm putting it high because it's a similar movie to The Departed, and it is this season where I guess as things
movies do well.
Slow down. Yeah, these type movies will do well, and like the reviews say, right, it's one of Johnny Depp's better movie, and I think people would like to see him in these kind of roles.
Okay, let's move on to Everest, another Jake Gyllenhaal movie, except this time he's got more help. Keira Knightley, Robin Wright, Josh Brolin, Jason Clarke. Early reviews are decent. 82% on Rotten Tomatoes, about 28 reviews so far. Everest, the IMAX documentary, did really well. So I'm not sure how sort of a film version of that would do. But, it has a great cast. Is this usually a big weekend? It looks like it would be. And even last week's films did pretty well. So it's still another big weekend.
I don't think so. Because some of these movies are kind of semi-wideish. According to Box Office Mojo, it's only in about 500 plus theaters.
Oh, okay.
So it's not that wide.
Okay, so it's not that wide. Okay.
But it's enough to be
still,
wide-ish.
It's going to be a big, still it's going to be a big weekend just because Maze Runner, I'm thinking 35, you're thinking 40 to 45. And Black Mass, I'm thinking 20 to 25, and you're thinking 27, 30, you're thinking 30.
Yes.
So Everest, 500 theaters. You can only do so much with 500 theaters. I'm thinking 5 million.
And I think they might be maybe an IMAX exclusive. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think people would want to watch if they're going to watch maybe in the IMAX theaters. So I think that limits its appeal somewhat. So let me go low. I'm gonna go 3.
Okay, 3. I wouldn't argue with that with just 500 theaters. All right, let's move on to Captive. I saw the one trailer, so I'll go. What do you think?
Oh, Captive. Like I said in the intro, it's the movie star Kate Mara and David Oyelowo. He plays an escaped convict who wants to see his son. And there's a manhunt for him, and he went into Kate Mara's home and held her hostage. And along with her, they went to see his son. And I think along the way they bond in the Christian genre.
Okay.
There is a book involved. Yeah, it's open in 800 plus theaters.
Yeah, so will this go the way of 90 Minutes in Heaven or War Room?
I think this would go the way of War Room, meaning that it would do better than what people expect it would do. I mean, I think this one breaks out of the Christian genre kind of, because it has a more polished look. Even though there are some faith elements, I say that it is more human based. That said, book is kind of like the catalyst for the change, instead of this invisible hand that kind of make things all right.
Okay.
So this is more about
what
people.
You thinking?
What 800 some theaters? For me, maybe I'm gonna go 5.
Okay, I'll switch with you and go low 3.
Okay.
Or 2.
All right. Yeah, because I think this one would have more appeal. I mean, this is not where everything's gonna be all right. This is more about this person having a change of heart. He did some bad things. This is a redemption story, and I think it will fit nicely with something like War Room.
I think just on an entertainment level, just it being a thriller is probably more mainstream than 90 Minutes in Heaven, which is more like, hey, this guy almost died and...
You pray enough and you'll walk again.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's what we have for this week.
Hopefully we won't miss our mark as badly as last week.
I think we're pretty on point for this week. Okay,
we'll see.
We'll see, but I'm pretty sure we're on point, because we have 2 totally unknown movies last weekend: Perfect Guy, and M. Night Shyamalan's movie The Visit, because we weren't sure of M. Night Shyamalan after his previous movies. If people want to watch his movies again, so
we weren't the only guys who were off.
Right.
Most people in the industry were pretty off. Okay, see you guys next week, and hopefully we're back on track like M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, we'll get back on track. And hopefully we'll stay there. Okay. We'll come back next week and talk more movies. All right. Thanks for listening.